The scorching Nevada sun bore down on Lily Blackwell as she hurried down the dusty main street of Silver Springs, Nevada, clutching her basket of freshly picked wildflowers and homemade bread. The year was 1878, and the mining town was bustling with the usual mix of prospectors, merchants, and troublemakers that defined the American frontier. Lily kept her eyes fixed on the weathered boardwalk beneath her boots, hoping to avoid the unwelcome attention she'd grown accustomed to since arriving 3 months ago. The whispers followed her like shadows. "There she goes, the widow woman," someone muttered as she passed the saloon. "Barely been in the ground a month before she came west." Lily clutched her basket tighter, the woven handle digging into her palm. 23 years old and already widowed, it wasn't the life she'd imagined for herself back in Boston. Outside the general store, a group of men lounged on benches, watching her approach with predatory interest. Lily recognized them as workers from the Silver Strike mine, rough men with rougher intentions who had made their desires abundantly clear on previous encounters. "Well, look who's here," drawled a tall, unshaven man named Harmon, "the fancy Eastern widow still acting like she's better than the rest of us." Lily quickened her pace, pretending not to hear. She was nearly past them when Harmon stretched out his boot, catching her skirt hem. She stumbled, the basket flying from her grip, sending bread loaves and wildflowers scattering across the dirt. The men erupted in laughter, their cruel amusement echoing down the street. Several passers-by turned to watch but quickly averted their eyes. No one in Silver Springs wanted trouble with mine workers, especially not for a newcomer like Lily. "Seems the lady's lost her grace along with her husband," Harmon sneered, drawing another round of laughter from his companions. Lily knelt in the dirt, frantically gathering her belongings, cheeks burning with humiliation. As she reached for a loaf of bread, a shadow fell across her hands, and a pair of dusty boots appeared in her field of vision. She looked up to see a tall figure standing between her and her tormentors. "She's with me," said a deep, steady voice. The stranger crouched down, carefully placing the scattered items back into Lily's basket before offering his hand. As Lily accepted it, she got her first clear look at the man. Dust covered from the trail with piercing blue eyes that contrasted sharply with his tanned skin. He wore the practical clothes of a working cowboy, worn leather chaps over denim trousers, a faded blue shirt, and a Stetson hat pulled low over his brow. "These gentlemen were just leaving," the cowboy said, turning back toward Harmon and his friends. Though his tone remained even, there was steel beneath the words. Harmon stood, squaring his shoulders. "This ain't your business, Cole. The lady and I were just getting acquainted." "Didn't look that way to me," the cowboy Cole replied. "And since Miss Blackwell will be joining me for dinner this evening, I'd appreciate you showing her proper respect." Lily's eyes widened at this unexpected claim, but she remained silent, sensing that this stranger was trying to help her. "You courting the widow now, Everett?" another miner called out, but with less conviction than before. Cole Everett. Lily committed the name to memory as the cowboy extended a hand to help her to her feet. "What I do is my concern," Cole answered evenly. "But I'd hate to have to explain to Mr. Davidson why his best miners can't report for work tomorrow." The threat hung in the air. Even Harmon wasn't foolish enough to test it. Davidson was the mine owner, and Cole Everett clearly had enough influence to make good on his warning. "Come on, boys," Harmon finally muttered. "Let the cowboy have his fancy widow." He spat in the dirt near Cole's boots before shuffling away with his companions. When they were safely out of earshot, Lily turned to her rescuer. "Thank you, Mr. Everett, but I don't recall accepting a dinner invitation." A smile tugged at the corner of Cole's mouth, softening his weathered features. "No, madam, you didn't. I just thought it might convince them to move along." "Well, it worked," Lily said, brushing dirt from her skirts. "Though I suspect you've now given the gossips even more to talk about." "Small towns run on gossip like locomotives run on coal," Cole replied with a shrug. "But if you'd like to make their talk honest, I'd be happy to escort you to dinner at the hotel restaurant this evening." Lily studied him more carefully. Cole Everett was handsome in a rugged way, with crow's feet at the corners of his eyes suggesting he smiled more than he was letting on. His hands were calloused from work, but they had been gentle as he'd helped collect her scattered goods. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" she asked cautiously. Because I've been new in enough towns to know how it feels, he answered simply. And because no one should be treated the way those men were treating you, Lily considered his offer. Dinner with an unknown cowboy wasn't what she'd planned for the evening, but there was something solid about Cole Everett that made her inclined to trust him. Besides, the prospect of eating alone in her rented room again held little appeal. "Very well, Mr. Everett, I accept your invitation." Cole nodded, touching the brim of his hat. "I'll call for you at 6 if that's suitable. Where are you staying?" "Mrs. Peterson's boarding house, the yellow one at the end of Cedar Street." "I know it," he said. "I'll be there at 6 sharp." As they parted ways, Lily couldn't help but wonder what she'd gotten herself into. Cole Everett was clearly respected, or at least feared by the miners, suggesting he was someone of consequence in Silver Springs. Yet he dressed and carried himself like a working cowboy, not a businessman or official. Back at her boarding house, Lily found herself doing something she hadn't done in months, preparing carefully for an evening out. She washed her face and hands, pinned up her chestnut hair in a neat style, and put on her best dress, a navy blue cotton with subtle white piping that she'd sewn herself before leaving Boston, Mrs. Peterson, a kindly widow in her 60s who ran the boarding house, knocked on Lily's door at 5 minutes to 6. "There's a gentleman caller for you downstairs, Mrs. Blackwell," she said, barely containing her curiosity. "And might I say, he's cleaned up rather nicely." Lily's heart quickened as she made her way downstairs. Cole Everett stood in the small parlor, hat in hand, wearing a clean dark shirt and vest. His hair was still damp from washing, and he'd shaved the trailed dust from his face, revealing a strong jawline. He looked up as she entered, and something in his expression made her heart skip. "You look lovely, Mrs. Blackwell," he said quietly. "Thank you, Mr. Everett, and please call me Lily." "Lily," he repeated, as if testing the name. "Then I'm Cole." As they walked to the hotel, Lily was acutely aware of the glances they received. Silver Springs was small enough that their appearance together would be noted and discussed in every household by morning. "You've caused quite a stir in town," Cole said as they were seated at a corner table in the hotel's modest dining room. "I've hardly done anything at all," Lily protested. "A beautiful young widow arriving alone from the east is enough," Cole replied. "People wonder what brings you here, what you're running from or toward." "And what do you think I'm running from, Mr. Everett?" "Cole," he corrected gently. "And I don't presume to know. Everyone has their reasons for coming west." "What were yours?" she asked, genuinely curious. A shadow crossed his face. "I was 16 when I left home in Missouri. My father died in the war, and my mother remarried a man who had little use for another man's son. I worked my way west, ranch to ranch, until I found a place that felt right. And is Silver Springs that place?" "It could be," he answered, his blue eyes meeting hers. "I've been here 2 years now. I manage the R Old Man Reynolds Ranch about 10 miles outside town. It's good land with good water." Lily nodded. That explained his authority. Ranch managers held respected positions in Western communities, particularly if they worked for established operations. "And you?" Cole asked. "What brings a Boston lady to a rough mining town in Nevada?" Lily hesitated. She rarely spoke of her reasons for coming west, but something about Cole's straightforward manner invited honesty. "My husband died of typhoid last year," she began. "We'd only been married 2 years. His family, they had expectations of me that I couldn't meet. They wanted me to marry my husband's cousin to keep the family business connections intact." "And you had other ideas," Cole observed. "I wanted to make my own way," Lily said firmly. "My aunt left me a small inheritance. Not enough to live comfortably in Boston, but enough to start over somewhere new. I chose the West because it seemed like a place where a person's past mattered less than what they could make of their future." Cole nodded. "That's true enough, though Silver Springs might not have been the easiest choice. It's still rough around the edges." "I'm discovering that," Lily said with a wry smile. "I had hoped to open a small millinery shop, but I'm finding the local ladies have little interest in Eastern fashions." "Give them time," Cole suggested. "Most women here haven't had much opportunity for finery. Show them what they're missing and they might surprise you." Their conversation flowed easily through dinner, discovering shared interests in books and music. Cole, Lily learned, was more educated than his cowboy appearance suggested. having attended school regularly until his father's death. As they walked back to the boarding house under a canopy of stars, Cole offered Lily his arm, which she accepted without hesitation. "Thank you for a lovely evening," she said when they reached Mrs. Peterson's front porch. "It's been a while since I've enjoyed conversation so much." "The pleasure was mine," Cole replied. Perhaps we could do it again," Lily smiled. "I'd like that." Cole tipped his hat and turned to leave, then paused. "Those men from today, Harmon and his crowd, they're trouble. Be careful around them." "I always am," Lily assured him. "All the same, I'll be in town for the next few days, ranch business." He hesitated, then added, "If you need anything, I'm staying at the hotel." Lily nodded, touched by his concern. As she watched Cole walk away down the moonlit street, she felt something she hadn't experienced since before her husband's illness, a flutter of possibility. A sense that perhaps Silver Springs might become more than just an escape from her past. The next morning, Lily woke early, her mind already busy with plans. If she couldn't sell Eastern-style hats to the women of Silver Springs, perhaps she could adapt her skills to create something they would want. She spent the morning sketching designs for practical bonnets that would protect from the harsh Nevada sun, while incorporating small, elegant touches that might appeal to frontier women. Around noon, a knock at her door revealed Mrs. Peterson with a package wrapped in brown paper. "This came for you, dear," the landlady said, eyeing the package curiously. Inside, Lily found a selection of wildflowers similar to those that had spilled from her basket the day before, along with a note in a firm, masculine hand. "To replace what was lost. Cole." The simple gesture warmed Lily's heart more than any elaborate bouquet from her courting days in Boston. These wildflowers represented not social obligation, but a genuine desire to bring her joy. Later that afternoon, Lily ventured to the general store to purchase supplies for her millinery experiments. She kept alert for Harmon and his friends, but the streets seemed mercifully free of mine workers. Inside the store, however, she felt the weight of curious stares from the three women examining fabric bolts near the counter. "Good afternoon," Lily greeted them politely. The oldest of the women, a stern-faced matron in a practical brown dress, gave Lily a measuring look before responding. "Mrs. Blackwell, isn't it? I'm Mrs. Grantham. This is Mrs. Foster and Miss Hemphill." Lily nodded to each in turn. Mrs. Foster, plump and pleasant-looking, offered a friendly smile while Miss Hemphill, a thin woman with sharp features, merely sniffed. "We understand you dined with Cole Everett last night," Mrs. Grantham continued without preamble. "Word traveled quickly indeed in Silver Springs." "Yes, Mr. Everett was kind enough to invite me to dinner," Lily replied, keeping her tone neutral. "Mr. Everett is well respected in this community," Mrs. Grantham said, her implication clear. "What was he doing with an unknown widow from the East, so I've gathered," Lily said. "He seems a gentleman of excellent character." Mrs. Foster stepped forward. "Cole helped my boy when his horse threw him last spring, stayed with him all night until the doctor came from Carson City. There's not a finer man in the territory, if you ask me." "Now, Martha," Mrs. Grantham chided, "let's not overwhelm Mrs. Blackwell with praise for her friend." "I've only just made Mr. Everett's acquaintance," Lily clarified, "but I appreciate knowing he's well thought of." Miss Hemphill finally spoke, her voice reedy and disapproving. "Well thought of indeed. Half the unmarried women in the county have set their caps for Cole Everett since he came to manage the Triple R, not that he's shown interest in any of them." "Until now," Mrs. Foster added with a meaningful look at Lily. Lily felt her cheeks warm. "I believe Mr. Everett was simply being neighborly to a newcomer," she said, though her heart quickened at the thought that Cole might have genuine interest in her. "Neighborly," Miss Hemphill repeated skeptically. "Well, time will tell." Eager to change the subject, Lily moved toward the shelves displaying ribbons and notions. "I'm hoping to start a small millinery business. Do any of you ladies have suggestions about what styles might appeal here?" The question successfully diverted the conversation with Mrs. Foster particularly enthusiastic about Lily's sketches. By the time she left the store, Lily had gained valuable insights about local preferences and a tentative promise from Mrs. Foster to visit when Lily had samples ready. As she stepped onto the boardwalk, Lily spotted Cole across the street, deep in conversation with a distinguished-looking older man. Cole glanced up, catching her eye, and tipped his hat with a smile that made her pulse quicken. The older man turned to see what had caught Cole's attention. When he spotted Lily, he said something to Cole, who nodded and guided his companion across the street toward her. "Lily," Cole greeted her warmly, "I'd like you to meet Mr. James Reynolds, owner of the Triple R." Mr. Reynolds, silver-haired but still vigorous in his 60s, extended his hand. "Mrs. Blackwell, a pleasure. Cole here tells me you're planning to bring some Eastern refinement to our little community." "I'm hoping to adapt my skills to meet local needs," Lily explained, pleasantly surprised by the rancher's friendly manner. "Smart thinking," Reynolds nodded approvingly. "My wife's always complaining about having to order decent hats from San Francisco. She'd be delighted to have someone local with skill." "I'd be honored to design something for Mrs. Reynolds," Lily replied. "Cole, why don't you bring Mrs. Blackwell out to the ranch this weekend?" Reynolds suggested. "Margaret's hosting one of her Sunday dinners." "Plenty of potential customers for a hat maker among our guests." Cole looked to Lily. "Would you be interested? I could bring the buggy around Sunday morning." The invitation presented an unexpected opportunity not only to meet potential clients but also to spend more time with Cole. "That sounds lovely," Lily accepted. "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds." "Excellent," the older man exclaimed. "Margaret will be pleased. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have business at the bank." With a tip of his hat, Reynolds continued down the street. When they were alone, Cole turned to Lily. "I hope you don't mind the invitation. Reynolds means well, but he can be a bit forward." "Not at all," Lily assured him. "It's kind of him to include me." "Margaret Reynolds is something of a social leader among the ranching families," Cole explained. "Her approval could be valuable for your business." Lily nodded, appreciating his insight. "Thank you for the flowers," she said softly. "It was a thoughtful gesture." "They reminded me of you," Cole replied simply. "Beautiful but tough enough to thrive in harsh conditions." The compliment, delivered without flattery or exaggeration, touched Lily deeply. "I should get back to my work," she said, suddenly shy under his steady gaze. "Of course. I'll call for you Sunday at 10 if that suits." "Perfect," Lily agreed, already looking forward to the day. As she walked back to the boarding house, Lily reflected on how quickly her situation in Silver Springs had changed. 2 days ago, she'd been a lonely widow facing harassment. Now she had a potential business opportunity and the attention of a man who intrigued her more with each encounter. That evening, as Lily worked on a prototype bonnet, Mrs. Peterson brought up a second delivery this time, a book of Tennyson's poetry with another brief note. "You mentioned enjoying poetry. Thought you might like this. Cole." Lily traced her fingers over his handwriting, moved by his attentiveness to their conversation. Cole Everett was proving to be a man of surprising depth. The next few days passed in a flurry of activity as Lily prepared sample hats to show at the Reynolds Sunday dinner. She created 3 designs: a practical everyday bonnet with removable decorative elements, a more elaborate church hat, and a wide-brimmed style for protection during outdoor activities. Each incorporated durable materials with tasteful embellishments that wouldn't look out of place in a frontier setting. Sunday morning dawned clear and warm. Lily dressed with special care in a sky-blue dress that complemented her eyes, arranging her chestnut hair in a simple but elegant style. She was ready and waiting when Cole arrived precisely at 10, driving a well-maintained buggy pulled by a handsome bay gelding. "You look beautiful," Cole said as he helped her into the buggy, his hand warm around hers. "Thank you," Lily replied, settling her hat box carefully beside her. "I'm a bit nervous about meeting everyone." "They'll love you," Cole assured her as he urged the horse forward. "Just be yourself." The 10-mile journey to the Triple R passed pleasantly as Cole pointed out landmarks and shared stories about the region. The landscape opened up beyond the town boundaries, revealing the true majesty of Nevada's high desert country, rolling sage-covered hills backed by distant mountains, the occasional stand of juniper providing welcome shade. "It's beautiful in its own way," Lily observed, taking in the vastness of the scene. "Different from New England, but there's something powerful about this landscape." Cole nodded. "That's it exactly. Most folks only see the harshness at first, but there's beauty here if you look for it. The way the light changes on the mountains, the wildflowers after a rain, the stars at night clearer than anywhere I've ever been." His passion for the land was evident, and Lily found herself seeing the terrain through his eyes, appreciating its austere beauty. The Triple R came into view. As they crested a hill, a substantial ranch house of weathered pine with several outbuildings, corrals, and a bunkhouse, all nestled in a sheltered valley with a creek running through it. Several buggies and saddle horses already stood in front of the main house, indicating other guests had arrived. Reynolds runs about 2,000 head of cattle, Cole explained as they approached. It's one of the larger operations in this part of Nevada. We employ 15 hands full-time, more during roundup. The pride in his voice told Lily that Cole considered himself very much a part of the Triple Articus success. As they pulled up to the hitching post, the front door opened, and a stout, silver-haired woman in a fashionable burgundy dress stepped onto the porch. "Cole Everett, you're cutting it close," she called, though her tone was affectionate rather than scolding. "Traffic on the trail, Mrs. Reynolds," Cole called back with a grin as he helped Lily down from the buggy. "May I present Mrs. Lily Blackwell from Silver Springs, formerly of Boston." Margaret Reynolds bustled forward to take Lily's hands in a warm grip. "Mrs. Blackwell, I'm delighted you could join us. James told me you're a milliner. I can't tell you how excited that makes me. I've been reduced to trimming my own hats since moving west, with disastrous results." Lily immediately liked the older woman's direct manner. "I've brought some samples of my work," she said, gesturing to her hat box. "I'd welcome your opinion." "Wonderful. Come inside and meet everyone before dinner. You can show us your creations afterward." Margaret led them into a spacious parlor where about a dozen people were gathered, engaged in lively conversation. James Reynolds stepped forward to greet them, introducing Lily to the assembled guests, neighboring ranchers with their wives, the town doctor and his family, and the local banker and his wife. Lily noticed the curious glances exchanged when Cole was introduced as her escort, but Margaret's obvious approval seemed to preempt any gossip. Throughout the excellent dinner that followed, Lily found herself seated between Cole and Dr. Williams, engaging in pleasant conversation about everything from Eastern politics to local wildlife. After the meal, at Margaret's urging, Lily displayed her hat designs. The reception was overwhelmingly positive, with several women placing immediate orders and Margaret declaring that Lily must make her a special hat for the upcoming Founders' Day celebration in Carson City. "You found a genuine need here," Margaret told her as the other ladies examined the samples. "A woman wants to look her best, even on the frontier, perhaps especially on the frontier where we have so few luxuries." "That's exactly what I was hoping," Lily replied. "I want to create pieces that are practical but still make a woman feel special when she wears them." Later, while the men discussed cattle prices on the porch, Margaret took Lily aside. "Cole seems quite taken with you," she observed without preamble. Lily felt her cheeks warm. "We've only just met." "I've known that boy for 2 years," Margaret said, "and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Cole Everett doesn't do anything halfway, not ranch work, not friendship, and certainly not courting." "I don't know that he's courting me," Lily protested weakly. Margaret's laugh was kind but knowing. "My dear, a man doesn't send flowers and books to a woman he considers just a friend." She patted Lily's hand. "Cole's had a hard road. His father dying young, that awful stepfather, making his own way from boy to man with no one to guide him. But he's built himself into someone any woman would be proud to stand beside. He seems like a remarkable man," Lily acknowledged. "He is that," Margaret agreed. "Just don't keep him waiting too long to know your mind. Men like Cole don't come along every day, even out west." The conversation gave Lily much to think about during the buggy ride back to town. Cole seemed content with comfortable silence between them, allowing Lily to gather her thoughts as the setting sun painted the sage-covered hills in gold and purple. "Thank you for today," she finally said as the lights of Silver Springs came into view. "Mrs. Reynolds is quite remarkable." "She's a fine woman," Cole agreed. "Reynolds is lucky to have found her. They were both widowed when they met. He was 50, she 45. Proves it's never too late for a second chance at happiness." The observation hung in the air between them, laden with meaning, as they pulled up to Mrs. Peterson's boarding house. Cole set the brake and turned to face Lily. "I'd like to call on you properly, Lily," he said directly. Not just as a friend or an escort, but with intention. Would that be welcome? His forthrightness took her breath away. In Boston, courtship had involved months of careful social maneuvering, hints and suggestions, proper introductions, and chaperone visits. Here was Cole laying his heart before her with simple honesty. Yes, Lily answered, surprising herself with her certainty. That would be very welcome, Cole. The smile that transformed his face made her heart race. He took her hand gently in his. May I? He asked, his intention clear. At her nod, Cole leaned forward and placed a soft kiss on her lips, brief but tender, a promise rather than a demand. When he pulled back, his eyes held hers with an intensity that made her feel both seen and cherished. I should go in, Lily said softly, though she made no move to withdraw her hand from his. I'll be leaving for the North Pasture tomorrow, Cole told her. We're moving cattle to summer grazing. I'll be gone about 10 days. Lily felt a surprising pang at the thought of not seeing him for so long. I'll look forward to your return, she said honestly. Cole helped her down from the buggy and carried her samples to the door. Good night, Lily, he said, tipping his hat before returning to the buggy. Lily watched him drive away, her heart lighter than it had been in more than a year. Silver Springs, it seemed, might offer more than just a fresh start. It might offer a new beginning she hadn't dared to hope for. The next 2 weeks saw Lily's millinery business blossom. Word of Margaret Reynolds' endorsement spread quickly, bringing a steady stream of customers to Lily's door. Mrs. Peterson allowed her to use the boarding house parlor as a temporary showroom, with a portion of the profits going toward Lily's rent. Though she kept busy with orders, Lily found herself missing Cole's presence in town. Their brief courtship had caught fire quickly, and his absence left a surprising void. She had received one short note, delivered by a ranch hand who'd come to town for supplies. The land is beautiful but lonely without you. Back soon. Cole. She'd read the simple message so many times the paper was wearing thin at the folds. 15 days after Cole's departure, 5 more than expected, Lily was working on a hat in the parlor when she heard the distinctive sound of horse hooves stopping outside. Her heart leapt as she hurried to the window, but instead of Cole, she saw Harmon and 2 other miners from the Silver Strike dismounting. A chill ran down Lily's spine. Mrs. Peterson had gone to visit her sister in the next town and wouldn't return until evening. The only other boarder, an elderly accountant, was at his office in town, squaring her shoulders. Lily moved to the door, opening it just as Harmon raised his fist to knock. Good afternoon, gentlemen, she said coolly, keeping the door partially closed. I'm afraid I don't have any men's hats for sale. Harmon's smile didn't reach his eyes. We ain't here for hats, Mrs. Blackwell. Word around town is you've been doing well for yourself. Thought maybe you could use some protection. I don't require protection, thank you, Lily replied, moving to close the door. Harmon's hand shot out, preventing her from shutting it. That's not how it works, madam. Silver Strike men look after businesses in this town, for a reasonable fee, of course. It was extortion, plain and simple. Lily had heard of such schemes in eastern cities, but hadn't expected it in Silver Springs. Remove your hand from my door, Mr. Harmon, she said firmly. Instead, he pushed it wider, forcing Lily to step back as the 3 men entered the parlor. Nice setup you got here, Harmon said, looking around at the hats displayed on stands. Be a shame if something happened to it. I have nothing of value to give you, Lily told them, fighting to keep her voice steady. Oh, I don't know about that, Harmon replied, taking a step toward her. A pretty widow like you might have plenty to offer. Fear coursed through Lily, but she refused to show it. Mr. Peterson will be returning any moment, she lied, and I expect several customers this afternoon. The second miner, a wiry man named Tucker, laughed. The old lady's gone to Carson City. Everybody knows that. The third man picked up one of Lily's completed hats, running his dirty fingers over the delicate trim. Fancy work, he commented, deliberately bending the brim. Put that down, Lily commanded, anger momentarily overriding her fear. Or what? Harmon asked, advancing another step. Your cowboy ain't here to help you now, Mrs. Blackwell. Word is he's up in the high country for another week at least. The fact that they knew Cole's whereabouts confirmed Lily's suspicion that this visit was deliberately timed. She backed up until she felt the work table behind her, her hand closing around her sharp sewing scissors. I'll give you 10 seconds to leave, she warned, or I'll scream loud enough to bring the entire town running. Harmon smiled nastily. Scream all you want. Folks in this town know better than to interfere with Silver Strike business. He reached for her arm. The front door crashed open with such force that it slammed against the wall, sending one of Lily's hat stands toppling. Cole Everett stood in the doorway, his expression more dangerous than any Lily had seen before. Get your hands off her, he said, his voice low and deadly calm. Harmon froze, then slowly turned. Well, if it isn't the cowboy back early from his cattle drive. Step away from Mrs. Blackwell, Cole ordered, moving into the room. Lily noticed he wore his revolver, something she hadn't seen him do in town before. The other miners saw it too, their bravado faltering. We were just talking business, Harmon said, backing up a step. No harm done. Your kind of business isn't welcome here, Cole replied, his gaze never leaving Harmon's face. Not with Mrs. Blackwell, not with anyone in Silver Springs. Tucker moved toward the door. Come on, Harmon, we got other stops to make, but Harmon seemed reluctant to back down completely. You can't be everywhere, Everett. The lady's going to need friends when you're not around. Cole's hand moved to rest on his revolver. Mrs. Blackwell has friends, good ones. Sheriff Davis, for instance, who's very interested in the extortion racket you boys have been running. And Mr. Reynolds, who happens to own the building where half your crew lives, and me. His voice hardened on the last word. Especially me. The implied threat hung in the air. Finally, Harmon nodded to his companions. Let's go, boys. Seems the lady's spoken for after all. As they filed out, Cole stepped aside to let them pass, his posture tense until they'd mounted their horses and ridden away. Only then did he turn to Lily, concern replacing the cold anger in his eyes. Are you all right? Did they hurt you? Lily realized she was still clutching the scissors and set them down with shaking hands. I'm fine, she assured him. They didn't touch me, but if you hadn't come when you did. Cole crossed the room in 2 strides, gathering her into his arms. Lily went willingly, burying her face against his chest, drawing comfort from his solid presence. I came straight here when I got to town, Cole said, his voice rough with emotion. One of the hands mentioned seeing Harmon and his boys heading this way. I knew Mrs. Peterson was away. How did you finish the cattle drive so quickly? Lily asked, her words muffled against his shirt. I left Jackson in charge for the final push, Cole admitted. Couldn't stop thinking about you, rode through the night to get back. The confession sent warmth spreading through Lily's chest. She pulled back slightly, looking up into Cole's face. You rode through the night, for me. I'd ride through hell itself for you, Lily Blackwell, Cole said simply. The words, spoken without dramatics or flourish, struck Lily to her core. This was a man who meant what he said always. A man of action rather than empty promises. Rising on her toes, Lily pressed her lips to his. Unlike their first tentative kiss, this one held nothing back. Cole's arms tightened around her waist as he responded with equal fervor, the passion between them building until Lily felt dizzy with it. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, Cole rested his forehead against hers. I missed you something fierce, he murmured. And I you, Lily replied honestly. Cole took her hands in his expression growing serious. Lily, I know it's only been a short while, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you. I think I started falling for you the moment I saw you gathering your spilled goods in the street, so dignified despite everything. Lily's heart soared at his declaration. In Boston, she'd married a man she respected and liked well enough, believing passionate love was the stuff of novels rather than real life. But what she felt for Cole in these few short weeks surpassed anything she'd experienced before. I love you too, Cole, she said, the words feeling right and true on her lips. It happened so quickly, I hardly understand it myself. Will you marry me, Lily? Cole asked without preamble. I'm not a rich man, but I've saved nearly enough to buy my own small spread. Reynolds has offered me a partnership track at the Triple R, or we could start fresh somewhere else if you prefer. Whatever you want, however you want it. The proposal, like everything about Cole, was straightforward and honest. No flowery speech or grand gestures, just a man offering his heart and future with simple sincerity. Yes, Lily answered without hesitation. Yes, I'll marry you, Cole Everett. Joy transformed his features as he lifted her off her feet, spinning her in a circle that sent hat stands wobbling precariously. When he set her down, he cupped her face gently in his calloused hands. "You've made me the happiest man in Nevada territory," he said before kissing her again, sealing their promise. Later that evening, after Cole had escorted her to dinner at the hotel and then returned to his room, propriety still had its place, even in Silver Springs. Lily sat at her small desk penning a letter to her cousin in Boston. How could she explain the whirlwind changes in her life? 3 months ago, she'd arrived in Silver Springs a grieving widow seeking escape. Now she was an engaged woman with a flourishing business and a heart full of hope. "Life in the West," she wrote, "happens at its own pace, sometimes achingly slow, as when waiting for rain during a drought, and sometimes breathtakingly fast, as when a spring thunderstorm transforms the desert overnight. My happiness has come like that thunderstorm, sudden and complete, washing away the dust of grief and leaving everything renewed." The next morning, Cole and Lily visited Sheriff Davis to report the incident with Harmon and his companions. The sheriff, a taciturn man with a reputation for fairness, listened carefully to their account. "Been hearing rumors about this kind of thing," Davis acknowledged, "but you're the first to come forward officially. Most folks are too scared of reprisals." "Mrs. Blackwell isn't most folks," Cole said, a note of pride in his voice. "No, she certainly isn't," the sheriff agreed with a slight smile. "I'll have a word with Davidson about his employees. Meanwhile, I'll increase patrols near the boarding house." As they left the sheriff's office, they encountered James Reynolds on the boardwalk. "Cole, Mrs. Blackwell, just the people I wanted to see," the rancher greeted them. "Margaret's arranging a dinner party next Sunday to announce the engagement. She won't take no for an answer, so don't even try." Lily exchanged a surprised look with Cole. "How did Mrs. Reynolds know we're engaged? We only decided yesterday." Reynolds laughed heartily. "My wife has a sixth sense about these things. Said she knew the moment she saw you together at the last dinner that wedding bells would be ringing before summer's end." Cole shook his head, grinning. "No point keeping secrets in this town." "None at all," Reynolds agreed cheerfully. "Now about that partnership we discussed. Cole, how soon are you looking to build?" "The southeast section of the property has good water access, ideal for a homestead." "You're offering us land on the Triple R?" Lily asked, astonished. "Partnership includes living quarters," Reynolds explained. "Previous managers used the old cabin, but a married man needs his own home. We'd consider it part of Cole's stake in the operation." The offer was extraordinarily generous. Lily looked to Cole, whose expression told her this was more than he'd hoped for. "That's mighty kind, Mr. Reynolds," Cole said. "We'll need to discuss the details, but it sounds promising." "Excellent," Reynolds clapped Cole on the shoulder. "Talk it over with your lady and we'll hammer out the particulars next week. Margaret's already planning how to help with furnishings." After Reynolds departed, Lily turned to Cole. "Is this what you want, to stay with the Triple R?" Cole considered the question carefully. "I've always dreamed of having my own place, but a partnership with Reynolds offers security I couldn't provide on my own, at least not for many years." He took her hands. "What matters most is what you want, Lily. If you'd prefer to be closer to town for your business, or if you'd rather try somewhere else entirely." "I want to be where you are," Lily said simply. "And the idea of building a home together on good land, with friends nearby, that sounds wonderful to me." Relief and happiness washed over Cole's face. "Then that's what we'll do." The weeks leading up to their wedding flew by in a whirlwind of preparation. Word of Lily's confrontation with the Silver Strike miners and Cole's timely intervention spread throughout the community, elevating both their standings in town. Far from damaging Lily's business, the incident brought more customers to her door, as the women of Silver Springs showed their support through patronage. Davidson, the mine owner, conducted his own investigation into Harmon's activities and discovered the extortion scheme had been operating for months. Harmon and his closest associates were dismissed, and Davidson made a point of personally apologizing to Lily, ordering hats for his wife and daughters as a gesture of goodwill. Margaret Reynolds proved an invaluable ally, helping Lily secure a small storefront for her growing millinery business and introducing her to influential women from surrounding communities. By the time the wedding approached, Lily had hired an assistant, a young widow named Clara, to help meet demand. Cole, meanwhile, worked with Reynolds to design their future home and begin the partnership agreement that would eventually make him part owner of the Triple R. The couple decided on a simple ceremony at the small church in Silver Springs, followed by a celebration at the Reynolds Ranch. On their wedding day, a perfect September morning with clear skies and a gentle breeze, Lily stood before the mirror in Mrs. Peterson's best guest room. Her gown was ivory silk and extravagant she'd allowed herself, ordering the fabric from San Francisco. She'd designed and sewn it herself, incorporating lace from her mother's wedding dress that she'd brought from Boston. A knock at the door revealed Margaret Reynolds, elegant in blue taffeta with one of Lily's creations perched on her silver hair. "Oh, my dear," Margaret breathed, "you're absolutely beautiful." "Thank you for everything," Lily said, embracing the older woman who had become a friend and mentor. "I don't know how I'd have managed without you." "Nonsense," Margaret replied briskly, though her eyes were suspiciously bright. "You'd have managed beautifully, as you always do, but I'm glad I could help." She adjusted Lily's veil slightly. "Now James is waiting downstairs to escort you since you have no family here. Having Mr. Reynolds give me away is perfect," Lily assured her. "You and he have been like family to both of us." When Lily descended the stairs to find James Reynolds waiting in his Sunday best, the rancher's eyes widened in appreciation. "Cole Everett is the luckiest man in Nevada today," he declared, offering his arm. "Ready, my dear." The small church was filled to capacity with well-wishers, ranching families, townspeople, even a delegation from the Silver Strike mine led by Davidson himself. As Lily walked down the aisle on Reynolds' arm, however, she saw only Cole, standing tall and handsome at the altar in a new dark suit, his eyes fixed on her with such love that her heart felt close to bursting. The ceremony itself passed in a blur of emotion. Lily would later remember fragments: the warmth of Cole's hands holding hers, the sincerity in his voice as he recited his vows, the gentle way he slipped the gold band onto her finger, and the minister's words, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Cole's kiss was tender yet possessive, a promise of all the days and nights to come. The celebration at the Triple R lasted well into the evening, with music, dancing, and enough food to feed half the county. As dusk fell, lanterns were lit around the yard, casting a golden glow over the festivities. Cole led Lily in a dance beneath the stars, holding her close as they swayed to the fiddle's melody. "Happy, Mrs. Everett?" he murmured against her ear. "Completely, Mr. Everett," she replied, savoring the sound of her new name. When the last guests had departed and the workers were clearing away tables, Cole led Lily to a waiting buggy decorated with ribbons and wildflowers. Their new home, a sturdy two-room cabin that would serve until their permanent house was built, awaited them on the southeast section of the Triple R, about 2 miles from the main ranch house. As they drove through the moonlit landscape, Lily leaned against Cole's shoulder, content in a way she'd never imagined possible when she'd first stepped off the stage in Silver Springs. The West had given her not just a fresh start, but a second chance at love and happiness, embodied in the strong, honest man beside her. The cabin, simple but clean, had been prepared for their arrival. A welcome home banner hung over the door, and inside they found the table set with a cold supper, a bottle of wine, and a vase of wildflowers. On the bed, someone, likely Margaret, had scattered rose petals and left a small wrapped package with a note. "For the happiest night of your lives. With love, M and J." Cole lit the lamps while Lily explored their temporary home, running her fingers over the sturdy furniture, the curtains Margaret had helped her sew, the patchwork quilt on the bed that had been a gift from the women of Silver Springs. Every item represented the community that had embraced them, the foundation they were building together. When Cole's arms encircled her from behind, Lily leaned back against his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady. "Welcome home, Lily Everett," he said softly. She turned in his embrace, rising on her toes to kiss him. "Home is wherever you are, Cole." As dawn broke over the Nevada hills the following morning, Lily lay in Cole's arms, watching golden light filter through the cabin windows. The future stretched before them, building their permanent home, growing Cole's partnership at the Triple R, expanding Lily's millinery business. Perhaps children someday, running across the sage-covered hills they'd already come to love. What are you thinking about? Cole asked, his voice rough with sleep as he traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. How different my life is from what I imagined when I first arrived in Silver Springs, Lily answered honestly. I came seeking independence, a chance to build something of my own. I never expected to find love again. Life has a way of giving us what we need, even when it's not what we're looking for, Cole mused, pulling her closer. Lily thought of that moment outside the general store when her basket had fallen and a stranger had stepped forward with a simple declaration. She's with me. Those 3 words had changed everything, setting in motion a journey neither of them could have anticipated. I'm glad you picked up my basket that day, she said, resting her head on his chest. Cole's laugh rumbled beneath her ear. Best decision I ever made, he kissed the top of her head, though marrying you runs a close second. As the sun climbed higher, washing the desert in light, Lily and Cole Everett began their first full day as husband and wife, a day that would lead to decades, filled with challenges and joys, sorrows and triumphs. And above all, a love that had bloomed unexpectedly in the harsh beauty of the American West, proving that second chances could be even sweeter than first dreams.